Thank you all for coming here today. I really appreciate you being audience for this presentation. The topic of my presentation is the impact of professional school counselors, students, and parent perspective. So basically I'll be discussing surveys and questionnaire and in-person interviews that I've done in the school field about parent and student perspectives about their professional school counselor. And at the end, if you guys had any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to shoot them out. I would really appreciate it, okay?
Okay.
So I'm going to start off with a brief introduction. Basically, my first question is, how can the professional school counselor impact the lives of students who have disabilities? And my second question is, what is the purpose of a professional school counselor? In the school field, professional school counselors have been known as leaders, educators, advocates for all students, not just students with disabilities. And what makes it so unique is the fact that they're able to help them each individually in their own way. So it's not just the same kind of learning criteria for one student, for all students. It's different for each individual student. So it takes a strong professional school counselor to learn effectively about each student with disabilities in order to learn and accommodate them as needed in and out of the classroom. So my research itself is in the school field, as I mentioned, and we're basically constructing in-person interviews, questionnaires, surveys to the parents and to the students with disabilities in order to be determined how effective is the school counselor towards the student and towards their families. So the purpose of this research is to determine how effective professional school counselors are to supporting students with disabilities. The disability focused on for the research was autism. Okay, the research questions that I hypothesized during my research was, will students with disabilities who participate in educational programs show greater academic achievement, decision-making, and personal development? Question 2 was, in what ways are professional school counselors making a significant difference in the lives of students with disabilities? What programs can be implemented for students with disabilities to help make an impact on their future? So that their future being, if they want to go to secondary education, whatever college they decide, how is that school counselor effectively helping them to get to that point? Question 4, are professional school counselors adequately prepared to work with students with disabilities? How are parents and teachers a part of the process of their success for their child or student? So relating to question 4, are professional school counselors actually prepared to work with the students with disabilities? There has been questions related to if professional school counselors actually understand the child's disability. In this case, I'm researching autism. So are school counselors effectively understanding what autism disorder is for the students that they're working with in the school field? And that's something that I've talked about in my research paper, and it's something that we'll dive a little bit deeper about as we go through the presentation. So, research literature. I have a quote that really stuck out to me that helped me throughout this research that is from the American School Counselor Association. The foundation that expands the image and influence of school counselors through advocacy, leadership, collaboration, and systematic change. ASCA empowers school counselors with the knowledge, skills, linkages, and resources to promote student success in the school, the home, the community, and in the world. So as I mentioned before, professional school counselors are not just there to counsel students. They're really there to overall make a difference, impacting the students' lives as they progress through their education. Some of the findings that really stuck out to me during my research is, as a researcher, I found that the implementation of data collection based on professional school counselors have very high expectations. As I mentioned, professional school counselors, they wear many hats. It's not just about, oh, they're counseling students, but at the same time, they're going out in the communities. They're helping students with disabilities. They're actually working alongside parents, alongside teachers, alongside principals to actually make a difference in the student life. The opportunity to work with parents and students benefited me in many ways. One being supporting students with disabilities 2, understanding the mindset about professional school counselors that advocate them. And 3, relating to the students and their capabilities. As I mentioned before, it's so important for the school counselor to be able to relate to the student with a disability, specifically autism, right? If the student is having trouble in and out of the classroom, at home behaviors, the school counselor should work alongside with the parents during their IEP meetings and other innovative programs to help them actually understand how can this work, what doesn't work, because the things that does and does not work need to be separated in order for the difference to be elaborated. Exactly. Research literature continued. I have another quote that really stuck out to me that helped me during this research. As stated, specifically, there are several reasons why students with disabilities fail to enter and thrive in their post-secondary institutions. The lack of transitional planning that starts too late or provided too little information about post-secondary knowledge, or the accommodations or services that they provide to students with disabilities. Counsel for Exceptional Children, 2018. This quotation helps me understand why it's so important for professional school counselors to be dedicated in the lives of young people. Students need school counselors to successfully guide them through the pathway of their education, personal growth, and rise above the incompetency. School counselors are a part of the backbone helping students thrive and achieve greatness. I've learned that every student accommodation isn't simple. It takes hard work, commitment, and dedication. As I mentioned before, school counselors wear many hats. Every student is different, every family is different, every school is different, every community is different. Everyone doesn't learn the same. And when it comes with a child who has autism or really any other disability,